And welcome to the Strike Show. I'm your host, Sean Hartnett. Joining me as ever is Michael Chubb, sound capture.
Hello, thank you very much. I gotta say that's way better than last week. Fiddler just just wasn't cool, not happy with it, so yeah. Fantastic.
As ever, we'll quit the fucking about, straight into the stories. I'm under no illusions that you're here for anything else. We have the best stories available, all right here for you this week on the show. So with that said, we dive straight into the first one. Safe space students silence Asian woman for saying black people can be racist. Now this was a fucking golden video this year. I'm sure many of you are aware of the Black Lives Matter protest. I mean, you'd have to be hiding under a stone to have not heard about it by now. But of course, racial hypocrisy is a deep-rooted tenet of their organization, and in as much as they say and claim they want equality, they don't really, because this poor little Asian woman from, I think, South Korea or something was at the protest, and she was trying to get across the message of pure equality, you know, that we all have racists in our, cultures. We all have bad people. We all have people who don't want harmony and, contentment. We have, incendiary, nefarious ne'er-do-wells who just want to stir up shit and turn everyone against each other. She tried to get this message out. Just listen to what happened. Jesus Christ. She does like to go on. By the way, she is surrounded by black people. You should see the looks on their faces. They're like the fucking meerkats from the ad, all just looking at each other for approval. Like, who's gonna stamp this bitch out first? Who's gonna silence this fucking person for just coming here today and ruining our rhetoric, our propaganda? Who's gonna just take the fucking megaphone that she isn't even using, she's just shouting in the center of them? Which, by the way, fair fucks to her for her braveness for thinking that this would be a good story to go down amongst this crowd. But listen to what happens next. Oh, it's just so fucking awkward.
Or gender or anything. Black people can be racist.
Oh no, did you hear that? Oh no, oh no, oh no, honey. A black woman comes over and she's shaking her head, patting her on the shoulder and going, no, honey, no, honey. Why on earth would we agree with the sentiment? All people are equal. We all have racists in our community. It's not proper. We all have oh no, honey. No. Oh sugar. No. By the way, you might have heard someone in the background. This is a common argument from that side, is you can only be racist if you have power, which I'm not really sure how that works. I mean, if a homeless person shouted the word nigger at some black people, I'm pretty sure that would be racism as well, but fine, by all means, let them have that argument.
Oh, sorry, maybe I don't articulate myself good enough. There are good people, and there are people who...
Bless her, she's blaming herself. Maybe I don't articulate myself very good. It doesn't matter what combination of words she would have said that point in. She'd still have a bunch of black people just shaking their heads dismissively at her and basically trying to usher her quickly and quietly away so they can get on with their racism.
are not that embracing to other cultures, who may not live up to standards of proper behavior.
Oh, the silence.
Look through heart. You have to look into this person and see what she or he really is. Look from the heart. The actions.
She or he. Must be a feminist as well. Putting the she before the he. I want to bring it back to what Jesse said, I want to bring it back to that time when we were all united by the races. Remember that? Remember the good time like 2 minutes ago before this woman came over and just started saying things about equality and judging people on their individual merit and treating them as human beings? No. I want to bring it back to the racism. Remember when we were all pointing at white people and saying that only people with power can be racist? Remember when we were all feeling good saying kill the pigs and wrap them in blankets? And remember when we were marching down streets fucking up Korean business owners' shops? Yeah, remember when we were doing that? I want to bring back to what Jesse said. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, look, clapping as she leaves.
We want a commitment to the temporary and the permanent space right now.
This is, by the way, why they were here. It's sort of a kind of in tandem movement with the Black Lives Matter thing. This whole safe space initiative where emasculated, cuckold people who won't survive the winter need a safe space where they can all congregate and share their values and talk in peace and harmony and not be accosted by people who have other opinions that are backed up by logic and rationale. I mean, they don't want truth and honesty. They don't want debates that would strengthen both sides and get to the root cause of the issue and maybe find out a solution or an answer. No, they want a safe space where their awful, awful ideas can be allowed to fester and spread like a disease. They want that safe space. I'm tempted to go into the song from South Park last week, but I won't. Let's just finish this video. Yeah, they're harassing the only white guy who's there, by the way, who I presume is some kind of dean of something, and basically getting him to commit to a safe space. In much in the same way that Joanna Lumley sort of convinced that guy to give the Gurkhas passports by harassing him whilst he was in front of all the reporters and cameras so he couldn't actually say no. Look at his little face. Yeah, it's just some more background chat from some inane people. So yeah, nice video to start out the week. We have other news here. Catalan Parliament votes to secede from Spain by 2017. It's not huge news, but I kind of thought it was fairly worthwhile in that Catalan is essentially trying to become a new country. It's choosing to disassociate itself from Spain. It wants to basically do what the Cornwallians want to do here in the UK and declare themselves an independent and free territory in the north. And oh, Michael, you're shaking your head. What's that? What, are you angry at the Cornwallians?
No, I'm not angry at the Cornwallians. Just don't see the point at this point. To be honest, I feel like there's bigger things in the world to get on with at the moment, and Cornwall's still kind of hanging on about, oh, we want to be independent and stuff. I'm like, okay, we'll get to you eventually. We got bigger shit to worry about right now.
It won't work if only because of geographically it just doesn't like work. How can we retain Penzance at the tail end of England and not have this huge gap in the middle? It would almost make Penzance a new territory as well by cutting off the tail. So it's like, it doesn't work because it can't, the reason Wales and Scotland are countries is because that was in a time when they may as well have been their own countries because they were governing themselves anyway. Like, it's too much to control the entire thing. But now the government has the availability with satellites and police and networking and emails and all that kind of thing to keep tabs on all the territory together collectively. You can't just take a chunk out like Cornwall and expect that it will just survive on its own. It doesn't work that way. If anything, it's kind of inevitable that Wales and Scotland will be reabsorbed back into the empire. And I don't know what it'll be called, but we're halfway there anyway with the whole UK and Union Jack thing. It's like it is kind of inevitable, but nevertheless, Catalan has voted. So again, this doesn't mean that they are technically a new country. It just means they want to be. I mean, they want to be in the same way that Crimea wanted to be part of Russia again. They still have to answer to Mother Ukraine, although not now that Russia just basically bossed the shit out of everyone and took it back militarily. But, you know, I don't know who's going to fight for Catalan in this. They might just have to rebel, a revolution, a la revolution, and, you know, start that. By the way, that Spanish Revolution in... what was it, 36? That is the only example of a functioning anarchist state ever recorded. And it worked for years. Orwell did a book, what was it called? Letters from Catalonia, I think it was called. And it was about the whole revolution and how it really was a fascinating look into an anarchist state. And it really wasn't the whole burning down buildings thing everyone thinks it would be. Everyone was just really organized and impassioned and cooperative with one another. Everyone had food. There was no poverty. Everyone had a job. Like, it was actually quite an interesting look. I think a lot of people could learn a lot from that revolution type dealio. If they did that again and it turned back into that, I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. So we have other news. Homeopathy is in the news this week. It says homeopathy could be blacklisted. About fucking time, by the way. Ministers are considering whether homeopathy should be put on a blacklist of treatments. GPs in England are banned from prescribing. The controversial practice is based on the principle that, quote, like cures like, but critics say patients are being given useless sugar pills. I'm not sure how like cures like. I'm not sure how, if you have a broken leg, breaking it again will help. Or if you have cancer, put some more cancer in the person and that will help. But I don't know. Fuck me. I'm not, I never studied medicine. Maybe I'm wrong. The faculty of homeopathy said patients supported the therapy. What does that mean? That's a nothing sentence. They supported the therapy. Number one, it's not quoting any statistics or figures. It's just a general, they supported it. What? Who? Your mother and your brother. They probably fucking feel sorry for you. It's probably sympathy on their part. They probably think that you're like some sort of dunce and this is the best you can achieve. Selling fucking snake oil to gullible fucks. Like, they probably are happy that you're getting some income. What does it mean they support it? Who gives a fuck? I can find dozens of people that wouldn't support it, that would call what you do charlatanry and quackery. Does that mean it's equally as, as disreputable? Yes, actually, in fact, it does. Do you want to know why? Because the people I could quote are fucking scientists. They're actual medicine practitioners. They have studied for years. They went to prestigious universities. They trained under people. They're held accountable for their knowledge. If shit goes wrong, they suffer penalties. What you do, a fucking idiot could do. A fucking idiot is doing, presumably. It takes no fucking intelligence to do what they do. They balance some fucking crystals around a stomach, or bless someone with water, or give them a fucking a bottle of Evian. It takes no fucking intelligence. A consultation is expected to take place in 2016. The total NHS bill for homeopathy, including homeopathic hospitals and GP prescriptions, is thought to be about 4 million. Jesus fucking Christ. And it's like, again, you lose track about numbers. You find it hard to put that into context and realize, well, how much is that out of the entire budget? But the way I view it is always the same way. I view it as, it's not how much of the total budget it is. It's what are you doing in tandem with this that makes this justifiable? How could you give these fucking outrageously just con men, miscreants, millions, and at the same time expect little old women to pay bedroom taxes for having a fucking spare room in their house. How can you do that? How can George Osborne this very fucking week try to pass through the House of Commons, increases in council tax that would have made the average family £1,200 worse off a year? How the fuck does this work? Why aren't you starting with this shit? Why aren't you taking back the 4 million here? Why aren't you taking back the 280 million we give to Pakistan every fucking year? Why aren't you taking back the 40 million the 40 million that was spent on their fucking space program? Why don't you start taking back these things and work your way down to the little old women? Work your way down to the people who just work like decent fucking 9-to-5 jobs and have to come home and take care of families. Like, why don't you just stop with that and fucking start in the right areas? I wouldn't even mind paying more tax as long as it was justifiable. I think paying taxes is good in its purest sense. When it's about contributing to things that make sense, that resonate with a common shared collective of yeah, that makes sense. When people all agree, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I would pay for education. I would pay for health. I'd even pay for politicians' wages because I understand they're doing a service. If we don't, who else is? But it's just shit like this that I don't understand how it survives the cull when other way more unpopular stuff gets passed. Yeah, so it goes into the specifics of what homeopathy is. One part of the substance is mixed with 99 parts of water or alcohol, and this is repeated 6 times in a 6C formulation. That's 6C, not sexy. Or 30 times in a 30C formulation. So they do that. That one part of the substance, I guess the medicine in this case, is mixed with 99 parts water, right? So 1% of it is actual medicine, 99% water. Then they do that either 6 times or 30 times. So with that 100%, which is the 1% and the 99%, with that 100%, they take 1% of that combination, and then they take it out and they put it into another 99% of water. They mix it all up again. So then they take the 1% of that and put it in another 90. And you keep doing this either 6 times or 30 times. It says here, a 6C formulation of homeopathic remedy contains 1 part per trillion of the active ingredient. How anyone ever thinks that this could theoretically work, I just don't understand it. I don't understand how people look at that and this has been treated with any sense of seriousness. How this ever got off the ground as a concept, I will never know. 1 part per trillion. Jesus Christ. I mean, I could probably lick this table and I would find more residue of medicine from maybe someone who perhaps sat here who took a Calpol like 3 weeks ago or something. Just hope is probably better than 1 part in a trillion. It's fucking ludicrous. And I'm going to stop reading before I get even more mad. There was a picture. I was reading about this plant, right? So it's just a short one. There's a plant, right? It says there's a stinging plant called the Gympie. You can look this up if you don't believe me. It's spelled Gympie. The Gympie. That produces a toxin so painful, it's driven people and animals to commit suicide. It says here, it has been described as being sprayed with hot acid and electrocuted at the same time. A man was reported to have shot himself after using the leaves as toilet paper. The picture of it just looks like a kind of hairy dock leaf. But that description just... A man was reported to have shot himself after using the leaves as toilet paper. Imagine how much pain you have to be in to think suicide is the only solution to what you're going through. You would rather be dead than wait a bit and try and see if a doctor has a cure for it. Like, that must be fucking agonizing. So, more migrant news this week. We have Mr. David Cameron in the EU this week, talking to, if you remember, Donald Tusk from last week, the House of Cards character. We have him talking to him and basically laying down the law, or at least pretending to, for the British public so his polls won't take a nosedive. But he's essentially taken Donald to... I was going to say Tusk. He's taken him to task and given him certain rules, whatever you want to call them, if Britain does stay in the EU after the 2017 referendum. Here's some of the main rules. He says that if we are going to stay, we'll want protection of the single market for Britain and other non-Euro countries. We'll want to boost competitiveness by setting a single target for the reduction of the burden of red tape, I guess bureaucracy and stuff like that. Kind of what the TTP was, but Europe-y. Exempting Britain from an ever closer union and bolstering national parliaments. I like that. It's a very symbolic one there. Exempting Britain from an, quote, ever closer union. And then the final was restricting EU migrants' access to in-work benefits such as tax credits. I mean, that one seems kind of like a cop-out. Restricting EU migrants' access to in-work benefits such as tax credits. I mean, that seems like such a specific and tangential ramification for committing the crime of entering a country illegally and not paying tax. Like, if you're gonna, if you're doing it legally, fair enough, you know, do all that kind of stuff, get on board, you know, pay tax. I have no problem with that, as long as you're bringing skills and, you know, education and stuff. Fair fucks to you. But like, that fourth one should just be something more ballsy. It should just be something like, we'll take in this amount per year and that's non-negotiable. Or we'll, the people who enter illegally will send back to their home countries, and the price of all the bureaucracy therein, the flight tickets, the accommodation, the food, everything, will be billed to that said home country until they learn their lesson, until they secure their own borders and provide a better life for their own people, to the point where they're not literally risking death by traveling across the fucking Mediterranean during the winter. If it was that, then I'd almost respect it. But this, restricting EU migrants' access to in-work benefits such as tax credits, it's such a fucking cop-out. It doesn't affect any of them at all. It assumes that they're paying tax. I'd love to see the fucking numbers who are. I guarantee you it's less than 10%. Yeah, so I mean, it's fairly weak overall, but symbolic, I guess, because of the sort of rise of UKIP that will probably see a resurgence as it gets closer to the referendum. Staying in the Middle East, we have a story coming out that's fairly stereotypical, to be honest. It says alleged assault victim, asked, "Do you think you were dressed appropriately?" Thousands of Egyptians are turning on the TV host who said a victim of alleged sexual assault wore, quote, revealing clothes, and the program at the center of the case has now been temporarily suspended. The story began when a violent confrontation was captured on closed-circuit television. A man and a woman walk into frame and seem to be arguing in the middle of a shopping mall when suddenly the man reaches out and slaps a woman before he's restrained by mall security and onlookers. The woman in the footage complained to the police that the man was sexually harassing her, but the local police didn't arrest him. Classic. So she took her case to the court of public opinion, posting the video to Facebook, where it has been viewed nearly 500,000 times. She also made several TV appearances alleging the police didn't arrest her alleged attacker because he's well known in the area. But none of this was what really got the Egyptians talking. Instead, what has now gone viral was what happened to the woman who we are not naming, given the online abuse being directed at her, gave an interview to a provocative TV presenter, Raheem Saeed. In the course of that discussion, Saeed challenged the woman, suggesting that it was what she was wearing that provoked the harassment. "Do you think you were dressed appropriately?" Saeed asked the guest. In the mall CCTV footage, the woman is wearing jeans and a sleeveless top. The harlot. The presenter then went further, showing older photos of the woman and accusing her of wearing revealing clothes. For instance, one shot showed her in a bikini. On Friday, the TV network tweeted out a statement saying that Saeed's program will be temporarily suspended. The program was facing an advertising boycott, according to reports. Again, it's just one of these stories that I think, this is a fucking drop in the ocean. Why did you choose this arbitrarily to get angry at? In a country where women can't fucking drive, they can't speak to men, they have to walk 4 paces behind them, they can't vote, they can't own property, they have to have the permission of a male relative to go outside. It's like, this is again, similar to the fucking old woman bedroom tax. Start at the bottom and work your way up. Start on a fucking governmental level, weed out the corruption, get rid of the fucking monarchy, become a secular state. Become civilized, free your women so that they can go out and get jobs and contribute tax to the economy, which will monumentally increase the standard of living in your country overall, education, health, everything. When you can actually fund these things, you will be on your way to becoming civilized. But no, they choose to get fucking angry over what one individual was or wasn't wearing. It's like, it's such an arbitrary story. It just makes me think that they're not even close to being a rational, functioning country in modern society. But yeah, so that cliche story happened. We have, again, the whole boomeranging of European countries, the liberal ones who were actually taking in an infinite amount of migrants who had no numbers, that were just increasing every single week. Sweden tells refugees to stay in Germany as IKEA runs out of beds. Europe's refugee crisis is having a major impact in Sweden, that even IKEA is running out of beds. The Swedish furniture giant says its shops in Sweden and Germany are running short on mattresses and beds amid increased demand due to an unprecedented flow of asylum seekers in the two countries. In Sweden, which along with Germany has been the most welcoming, the migration agency had to let about 50 refugees sleep on the floor of its head office on Thursday night as it tries to find accommodation for its latest arrivals. I mean, it's becoming a failed fucking state. It's encumbrance beyond belief. It's not functioning anymore. We had a functioning system similar to Australia. It was a point system, where we allowed the creme de la creme to come in. We had thousands of them come in. We had different waves of them. We had, it's the Middle Easterners like Syrians and stuff now, but a decade ago it was the Polish. Yesterday we were making jokes about Polish builders. A decade before that, it was the Irish, and in the 80s as well. Those were the decades when we came over. Before that, it was the Pakistanis and the Jamaicans, the remnants of the old British Empire that was dissolving, the Commonwealth, so to speak. They all had passports that could get them into this country because we technically owned their countries. So, it was fine. That was functioning. The people were coming in steadily. Our culture was becoming more multiracial and multicultural. We had the benefits of it, and we had quite a few negatives as well, but more or less it was functioning. It was fine. It was getting better and better as assimilation took place. There was no overburden. There was no glut. There was no fucking refugees sleeping in government buildings. This didn't happen. It was a fine system. And then other countries fucked up. Africa, all the other little countries fucked up with civil wars and religious persecutions and homophobia and misogyny and every kind of ogeny or ia you can think of was there. They were the breeding grounds for them. The entire Middle East was the same. We now, because of them fucking up, we have to change our culture that was working up until this point to accommodate their backwards barbarian beliefs. It's unbelievable. It's such counterintuitiveness like I've never seen before. It's not going to work. Appeasement never works. We fucking learn from Neville Chamberlain. This is the exact same thing again. You don't give in. You don't just throw money at a situation. You don't allow them to get their way. You don't open your borders and let an unnumbered amount of people just enter. It doesn't work that way. It only seeks to make everywhere shit. But yeah, like I said, I mean, the exact same as last week. Shit tons of migration news. A jihadist cell in Europe sought recruits for Iraq and Syria. The 13 suspected members of a jihadist group arrested in raids across Europe were allegedly recruiting foreign fighters to be sent to Iraq and Syria. The raids in Finland, Germany, Italy, Norway, Switzerland, and the UK targeted Roti Shaks, which seeks to establish a caliphate in Iraq's Kurdistan region. I guess Roti Shaks being, I guess, a sort of Boko Haram subsidiary kind of group, splintery thingy from ISIS. But again, what do we expect? You've seen the photos. Of course, the mass immigration problem that Europe's suffering from right now would obviously lead to terrorists smuggling themselves in. We've seen this. We've seen the imams on the videos declaring that this would be a great way to, take the white women because the Western men are cuckolded and they're strong and we can plant their seed in them and you can raise the children with Islam and yada yada yada. You've seen the fucking the ISIS saying the videos that they're going to worm their way in. They're going to be there everywhere all at once. They've declared war on the West, yada yada yada. You've seen them, and you've seen the fucking photos of terrorists who in one photo are holding up a severed head in fucking Iraq or something, and then in the next photo they're hugging like a Western white blonde woman in fucking Sweden who's welcoming them into their country and who's there like as part of the welcoming committee, handing him fucking toiletries and stuff, posing for photos. The same fucking guy. This happens. There's dozens of those photos. Look at them online. They're smuggling themselves in. Now, whether they just fuck off from ISIS and become civilized or as civilized as they can become and just start an ordinary life somewhere, that I don't know if that's the truth, or if they are just planning and waiting. But apparently there are some who are doing it because 13 of them were just found this week. I mean, again, it's like, how can you expect anything other than this? How can Merkel ever pass this off as, a few bad apples or whatever? No, it's a direct ramification of the type of numbers you were bringing into this country. Shit like this was inevitable. Shit like the Bataclan attack last week was fucking inevitable. It's just the 130 people are dead, and she's trying to pass that off as right wing intolerance of people, and like just the most kind of self-flagellatingly apologetic and excusey type of ideology I've ever come across, to just explain away the fucking the mentality of these barbarians who did the attacks by saying that it's somehow white people's fault, that it's us in the West who are intolerant, and that we weren't welcoming enough. All these fucking worms have come out now. The events of a week or two ago have happened. And they all say the same things. The leftists all going on. So it's just I don't know. It's just such cuckolding, and if it keeps going on this way, of course Europe is fucked. How can it not be? You can't support these kinds of numbers. They say that you only need 5% of people for a revolution. Like in any country, all you need to win is 5% and the country is overthrown. Which kind of surprised me. I thought it would have been more. I thought it would be like more north of 50, but no, apparently you need 5%. How can you have... I mean, we have more than 5% of Muslims just who call themselves moderates in the country. And moderates, by the way, being the definition of people who are homophobic, people who are misogynistic, who veil their women, who expect them to walk behind them, who you have the Sharia law gangs walking around on Saturday nights down in Brick Lane, slapping white women who are wearing miniskirts. You have these people who are apparently moderates, and they make up far more than 5%. How the fuck has there not been a revolution yet? At what number does it have to reach in order for them to just basically carry out their barbaric shit? I mean, you have people like Anjem Chowdhury who are walking out unarrested in free society, setting up terrorist groups like Islam for UK, who are directly calling for Sharia law, and who fucking abuse people that are, linked to Finchley Mosque and those kinds of terrorist groups. I mean, his name is attached to every fucking terrorist attack that has happened on UK soil in the last 15 years. And he's still walking around. It's a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. It's sickening to see such suicidal ideologies. It's not homicide. It's not even like, there used to be a nobleness to empires taking over other empires. When you fought, when you were a man and you joined an army and you fought and you took over territory, it doesn't matter if you were fucking the American army, it doesn't matter if you were the Roman army, it doesn't matter if you were the fucking Mongol army. Whatever you were, there was a nobility to winning in war. To the victor go the spoils. It's an ideology that's as old as time itself. Everyone knows that's the rule. This isn't that. This isn't, some other superior culture coming over here and taking us over. This is us giving ourselves up. This is us holding our hands up and just feeling guilty for the crimes or perceived crimes of our ancestors, which none of us took part in, and just apologizing and being self-flagellating and being a cuckold. You know, it's just despicable to see. And it's not even like they're doing it to themselves whilst the rest of us sane people over here are fine. They bring us down with them. It's our collective country that they fuck up entirely. It's our budget that they choose to squander on foreign aid for people who are ungrateful for it. You know, and whilst people are starving here, whilst people are drug addicted here, whilst we have all the same problems, but here, we choose to just save other people who don't thank us in the long run. It's just despicable. In a somewhat lighter note, I guess, Ahmed Mohammed, the clock boy, seeks 15 million from city and school. Now, you may remember this story. Ahmed Mohammed was the kid who built the supposed clock bomb, which turned out just to be a kind of, I guess, a digital clock or something, which I've seen how it's done. There was a video of someone who actually dissected it and showed what he did. And literally all he did was take apart an ordinary alarm clock, like a digital one, just took the plastic from around it and put it in a suitcase. He didn't invent anything. It wasn't actually like a thing. It was actually the uninvention of something. It was the dismantling of it and replacing of it in an arbitrary briefcase. But anyway, he... naturally enough, it was assumed to be a bomb, as ticking red lights generally are assumed to be, you know, after we all saw 24. So he I don't know if he was actually arrested or he was just taken down to the station or whatever, but he was basically detained for somewhat while he was questioned and stuff like that. So naturally enough, he now deserves $15 million from his city and school. What I love about this is not only is he not going to get this, but he has alienated any of the supporters who were once with him. And there were quite a few, you know. President Obama himself invited him down to the White House and showed him his clock. NASA took him for a tour around their station. He got sent shitloads of free stuff. There's pictures of him posing with all his free boxes of like laptops and tablets and stuff like that from every company who wants to join on the liberal bandwagon. But now he's suing. Everyone has deserted his cause. It's a ridiculous amount. And he's actually suing because he moved back to Qatar to complete his education. So yeah, he's suing from abroad now. But yeah, why not? 15 million. Sounds reasonable for, I don't know, getting put in handcuffs or something. 15 million. Jesus Christ. We have... there was a match that took place earlier this week. Now, I don't know if you even remember from a couple of podcasts ago, but myself and Michael aren't too clued up on sports. It's not our remit. We don't know much about it, but this one stuck out. There was a match not long after the Bataclan attacks. It was Turkey versus Greece. And there was a minute's silence for the French massacre. Listen to what happened.
Çok geçmiş olsun dileklerimizi iletiyoruz. Dostane maçı olur inşallah. Yunanistan'a karşı ben 2 maç oynama şansı buldum. Hocam, terör olayları malum ve saygı duruşu.
That's the silence, by the way. They're chanting, "Martyrs do not die." That's Turkey, by the way. Although, you know, at this point, Turkey, Greece, potato with the migration. But this, by the way, from a country who literally has the sign of Islam on their national fucking flag. I mean, what did you expect? They have that crescent moon with the star. That's on their national flag. You can see it in your mind now. It's the white one. It's on the red background. That's Turkey. Okay? This, I mean, what did you expect? This, I mean, these are the people that want to enter the EU, the European Union. These are the people who want to think of themselves as European, as being cultured, as being sophisticated, intelligent, rich, civilized, all those nice words. These are the people. These are the ones who think they deserve a place in the European Union because they're so like us, as we just evidenced. A lot of, again, like I said, a lot of migration news. I think the worst thing to happen out of the entire Bataclan attacks that took place Well, it's not even just the Bataclan attack. There was others as well. There was the stadium. I think they got like 8 people in the stadium where it wasn't Nicholas, it was President Hollande. He was actually nearby when it took place. And I think 3 out of the 4 attackers blew themselves up with suicide bombs. The 4th one was shot before he could, luckily. But I think after all this travesty, all the guts on the street, all the women and children that were shot, all the band's reputation, what they call the Eagles of Death Metal, they'll never play a serious gig again. The Bataclan Theatre plans to reopen, but will its name ever be associated with anything ever again? I think that after all the death and destruction, all the racial tension, all the historical precedents that have been set now, I think we're all on the same page in thinking that the worst thing that happened was this article here. The Muslim taxi driver claims he could not pick up a fare for hours following the Paris attacks and broke down in tears after passenger spoke out against Islamophobia. Because that's the true travesty. A Muslim taxi driver wasn't able to get a fare for that night. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate the victimization. It's exactly the same mentality as, there are attacks like this in Lebanon every day, every week. It's like, it's not fucking about you. Can you give us 5 fucking minutes to grieve? Can you allow us to just comprehend the fucking travesty that happened? Can you just let us mourn the people that we lost? Can you do that? Can you not make this about yourself like literally every fucking thing is? All the aid in the world goes to you, all the sympathy, all the outreach programs, all the charity, all the fucking missionaries and all the programs, all the inventions that white people make, like electricity to poor people, all the pylons and solar panels and all that you get for fucking free, or what your corrupt governments allow you to get. Aside from all that shit being about you, can you give us 5 fucking minutes to comprehend the devastation that we just suffered? Can you not make this about how much you earned on that particular night? You fucking arrogant cunt. It's not fucking about you. Get over yourself, you self-aggrandizing, egotistical prick. Ugh, it just gets me annoyed. And so we're going to end soon, so I guess one final story. We spoke a couple of weeks ago about the Fantastic Four and how... Did you end up seeing it? You didn't? No, well, I presumably told you not to because it is fairly fucking atrocious. But now that the dust has settled from the film, and I think the box office was either just under or just over what the production budget was, so obviously it didn't make nearly as much as they thought it would. Now that, like the director Josh Trank has disassociated himself from it, now that the actors have kind of talked shit about it, there was one story that caught my eye this week, and Tony Kebbell, a fantastic actor, he played Dr. Doom in Fantastic Four. Not his best role, it was alright, it wasn't a bad performance, but there wasn't a lot to work with. Shit writing, shit, cinematography in general, just kind of crap CGI. And obviously a very familiar origin story. But he came out and very magnanimously and kind of honestly and fairly respectably talked about the film. And if you don't know who Tony Kebbell is, I haven't seen the film. He was a fantastic little actor. He was in Dead Man's Shoes, a really great film by Paddy Considine, I think his name is. He was in Black Mirror, the episode with what's it called? The Entire History of You. Do you know the one with the eyeball where it's a camera? He was the main guy in that. Brilliant fucking performance. So anyway, this is Tony Kebbell saying what Tony Kebbell learned from the Fantastic Four. Gained a lot of respect for him.
You're no stranger to playing a character in a big franchise. You were recently in Fantastic Four. What was your reaction to how that movie was received?
I was disappointed, but the fans aren't wrong. Fans want what they want to see, and if they don't get satisfaction, they let you know. And I appreciate that as a performer. My job is to come in and perform as best I can, and hopefully be directed in that path. And I felt like I was. I felt like see something I don't agree with, to voice that immediately. I think it's important. As an actor, you're very conscious that your career is at stake with each job, especially on these larger productions. A film like that comes out and I'm being sent maybe 4 scripts in a week, and those scripts go to 0 when it doesn't come out as successful. So it actively affects my career. I think it's vitally important that if there's a problem on set, that it's voiced and we solve it there. And I think that's collaboration is very important. Not to say that didn't happen on set.
Yeah, it fucking did.
Yeah, the collaboration is vital.
Yeah, he's trying to backtrack. Bless him. He's trying not to bitch because he doesn't want to lower himself. But I have to say, I gained a lot of respect for him. I mean, he could have been a dick and said, "Oh, fucking, they're wrong. It was a great film," or fuck, I'm just a paycheck. But you can tell he's like an actor who really cares about his craft. And honestly, I think, not that he hasn't gone places already. Like I said, a fantastic body of work already. But I think he's only going to go higher and higher. This won't affect him. They did actually, I don't know if it's cancelled, but they certainly postponed a sequel to the Fantastic Four that was due to be released in 2017. So I think they're going to reassess this. I don't know if he'll get another chance to play it and redeem himself. But yeah, anyway, Tony Cavill, fair fucks to him. So on that note, we are going to wrap up business as usual. Thanks to Whack for letting us come here, very graciously hosting us yet again. We have the Strike Show at hotmail.com if you want to send in pictures, videos, stories, topics, whatever the fuck you want to talk about. Or again, just send me an email telling me to go fuck myself. Whatever you like, that is freedom. It's welcome to the internet. A nice little thing. We have a new graphic artist who's done some designs for us. We should have a new intro, outro, and background, all nice and logoed up. So you won't have to suffer through that abomination of a Microsoft Paint shite that I put up there as a background. Yes, that was your humble narrator's attempt at art. It's the only thing that was in my head, and I've thought about it for a while, but I couldn't quite get it out because I don't know graphics. So you won't have to deal with the shit white background or the glitchy, kind of blocky logo thing. So it should be all nice and new. If not on this episode, then hopefully by the next one. So yeah, always constantly improving, onwards and upwards, much like Tony Cavill. With that, anything else? You can donate to the show. Follow the PayPal link below. Help support the cause. The more you give, obviously, the longer we can keep doing these. So if you're entertained by them, do please give generously. It certainly helps. And I think that is it. So with that, we shall bid you adieu and see you next week. That's goodbye from me, Sean Hartnett. Take it easy.